Here's everything you might have missed in Andor episodes 1 through 3. Welcome back, Star Warriors, to our weekly breakdown of Andor. The latest Disney Plus Star Wars show is a Rogue One prequel that feels more mature than basically anything else we've seen in the galaxy far, far away, at least in recent memory. There's a lot to unpack in these 3 episodes and a few Easter eggs and deep-cut references to boot that you might have missed. We're gonna break it all down for you in just a moment, but to do so, we have to spoil what happens in the first 3, count 'em, 3 episodes of Andor. Now, if you haven't seen them yet and you're worried about that sort of thing, leave now or you're in for a shock. When the series opens, that's no moon, it's the logo for Andor, slowly revealing the title and transforming the planet we see into the Rebel Alliance symbol. It mirrors how Cassian will be alliance-pilled by the end of this show. Now, speaking of openings, you can also spot B2EMO, the show's lovable new droid, included in the Star Wars franchise title card. The first 3 episodes of Andor play out like one deluxe-length episode or a mini-movie. It sets the stage for Cassian Andor to move beyond his scammy ways and embark on his journey to becoming the elite intelligence officer that we know and love in Rogue One. We begin our journey on Morlana 1, a Blade Runner-esque rainy cityscape under the jackbooted heel of the Preox Morlana Corporation. The Pre-Mor security forces think that they're the Empire's first line of defense, and as we'll see, they are just as cruel. The show says this takes place in 5 BBY, or 5 years before the Battle of Yavin. That's the battle that led to the destruction of the Death Star in A New Hope. Now, for those who don't know, the Battle of Yavin, or BBY, is the event around which the Star Wars timeline is constructed. This places things roughly 5 years before the final moments of Rogue One, which ends with Princess Leia escaping with the Death Star plans and Darth Vader hot on her heels. Now, usually Star Wars stories just begin with the vague a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, but here we know exactly how long ago it was, but not how far, far away. Where is it? Where's Morlana? I don't know! When Cassian first arrives on Morlana 1, he wanders into its red light district. The first alien in a bubble bears a visual similarity to Sy Snoodles, who you may remember best from Jabba's palace. Inside the space brothel, we see a holographic dancer similar to the dancing Twi'lek hologram from Rogue One. Cassian is looking for his sister from Kenari, the place where they grew up. And episode 2 confirms that Kenari was rendered uninhabitable after a mining disaster seemingly killed all the remaining adults, leaving us with this Lord of the Flies-ass planet in Cassian's memories. It also explains why Cassian says he's been in this fight since he was 6 years old in Rogue One. He had to grow up real fast. Unfortunately for Verlo and Kravis, their ill-advised shakedown leaves them deader than every character in Rogue One. It also sets off a chain reaction that puts Andor under the microscope of a man who's horny for following the rules and decorative piping, Cyril Karn. Who needs pockets of fomenting when you can add pockets to your uniform? Pockets. Later, we catch up with Cassian on his adopted homeworld of Ferrix. This desolate trading outpost is in the same system as Morlana 1, and it's home to a massive shipyard where older model ships are being repurposed for the Empire. Although we thought it might be the same scrapyard where Cal Kestis worked in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Ferrix is clearly its own uniquely dreary world. It's also a place where our beloved new droid, B2EMO, his full name, answers Twitter's burning question about what to do when 30 to 50 feral hogs run into your yard and one of them pees on you. That wasn't part of the prompt, but it's what happens here. Of course, as we learn later, these aren't hogs, rather they're dogs that live in the junkyard that Cassian calls his home away from home. We also learn that Kassa, as B2 calls him, is what Cassian's sister called him as a kid back on Kenari. B2 is part of that group of salvage hunters led by Marva who discovered Cassian aboard that downed ship on Kenari. So it makes sense why B2 might lapse into one of the earlier ways that Cassian probably identified himself after he was benignly kidnapped, adopted. Let's call it what it is, he got kidnapped. Now, this downed ship is one of the biggest mysteries of the series so far. Whatever turned the crew of the ship into that yellow bastard from Sin City is likely what killed most of the people on board and caused it to crash. You can see a trail of yellow smoke when it's crash landing as well. Now, we know that biological weapons exist in a galaxy far, far away, and this definitely seems like one of the likeliest explanations here, especially given the depths of the Empire's 6 Sith science. But, as we see from the pilot's uniform, it looks like the Separatist Confederacy logo, and that's before the Empire was established. Marva then mentions that Republic ships are inbound to investigate, so it could be a ship that was stolen by Separatist holdouts, or maybe just a Separatist ship, period. Now the other question is, were Marva and her partner Clem involved in shooting down that frigate? It doesn't seem like it. They probably just tailed that ship when they saw it was damaged, waiting for an opportunity to pick over its remains. Clearly though, some major shit went down if Marva insisted on hiding Cassian's Canary roots years later. She says every doc I've ever submitted always said Fest. Fest was another planet inhabited by humans that was first canonized in the Rogue One visual guide. But the question is, what's so suspicious about Canary and what really happened after Cassian left? Anyway, back on Ferrix, with her welding helmet and tan outfit, Bix's mechanic uniform kinda looks like Leia as Boushh in Return of the Jedi. But unlike Luke and Leia, Cassian and Bix aren't secret siblings.
What?
We hope.
He's my brother.
Here she's messing around with what appears to be pod racing engines, just like we've seen recently on The Mandalorian. Cassian's big score is an untraceable NS9 Starpath unit, a navigation unit that lets whoever has it travel through Imperial space undetected. Starpath units were mentioned previously in the 1998 novel I, Jedi. Cassian stole this from an Imperial naval base on Steerguard by simply walking in and acting like he belonged there. It's a classic tactic employed by countless Star Wars heroes. As for that Wobani run that Tim mentioned, that's the planet where Jyn Erso is held captive in an Imperial labor camp in Rogue One. It's also an anagram of Obi-Wan. The more you Kenobi. I said. When Cyril and co are looking at flight logs, they mention sublight engines in an Orlean starcab. Now, sublight engines allow ships to fly through space, but not at the speed of light. Orlean starcabs first appeared in Galaxy Guide number 8, a 1993 supplement for the Star Wars role-playing game. Now, it seems that getting in undetected to jack high-value spaceship parts clearly runs in the family, as Cassian's adoptive mother, Marva, shows us in episodes 2 and 3. Although she is a tough cookie, she and Cassian are a bit sentimental, it seems. In Cassian's room, we can see a toy bantha, which is different than the toy his sister has in episode 1, and we can also see his blow dart weapon from Canary as well. When Tim is trying to trail Bix, he gets lost, and there's a brief cameo from everyone's other favorite droid, a Gonk. Colossal, jealous dumbass though he may be, Tim snitches on Cassian and still somehow gets laid. In the morning, he makes Bix some caf. Caf is the Star Wars equivalent of coffee, and it has kind of a complicated history in the galaxy far, far away. In fact, this might be the first time it's actually mentioned on screen. Usually it was relegated to books and comics, and for a long time, caf and coffee were actually two different beverages in the galaxy far, far away. Coffee was first mentioned in Marvel's Star Wars number 59 back in 1982, but it didn't appear in continuity until 1995's Children of the Jedi novel. As for caf, its first appearance in the expanded universe was in the 1996 short story Hasty Exit as part of a Star Wars role-playing game sourcebook. But canonically, it first appeared in John Jackson Miller's 2014 novel A New Dawn. And now it's back in the proverbial mainstream in this deeply unimportant moment on the show.
Tell me you have calf.
Just about to put it on.
While we're talking about food and drink though, that one guy on Morlana 1 is eating what's known as glow blue noodles. They first appeared in the 2019 novel Pirate's Price, and they were later included in the official Galaxy's Edge cookbook. Moving on, at the shipyard in episode 1, the boss asks over the loudspeaker what in the name of Chob is going on out there. Now, the only Chob in Star Wars lore that we know of is the saying Chob's Knob, apparently a Bith saying that appeared in 2015's Heir to the Jedi. Why they don't just say Bith please is beyond me, but anyway, I said. Other ships that can be spotted in this scrapyard include what appears to be a Y-Wing starfighter and a T-47 airspeeder. The birds we see there later in episode 2 look like steel peckers, the creepy vulture-like birds on Jakku who eat metal. And these must be just one of the many pests the dogs are meant to keep away. It's no wonder though they'd flock to this scrap metal smorgasbord, because just look around, pretty tasty stuff. Soon though, Ferrix becomes a buffet for actual vultures when the Pre-Mor security forces test Linus Mosk's theory that the best way to keep a blade sharp is to use it. The Pre-Mor security forces arrive in a giant pyramid-like ship that deploys several mobile tac pods to Ferrix. And these tac pods kind of look like repurposed clone transports from Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. Unfortunately for them, the workers of Ferrix said ACAB, and they sound the alarm for Cassian that he's being hunted. We also finally learn that Bix's black market buyer is Luthen Rail, played by the one and only Stellar Skateboard. His ship is operated by a modified Fondor droid. The planet Fondor was covered with autonomous factories operated by large-scale droid brains. It originated in 1979's Han Solo at Star's End, and now we see the remnants of a Star Wars legend working its way back into canon. After fighting their way out of the city together and using one of my favorite video game tactics, we get a nice parallel between Cassian's past and his future. Once again, Cassian is forced to leave everything he knows behind by riding off into the great unknown with someone he's met just moments prior. But Cassian's adaptability is exactly what will make him such a tremendous asset to the rebellion, all the way up to his heroic sacrifice in Rogue One. Anyway, folks, there you have it. That's everything we spotted in the first 3 episodes of Andor. The show is off to a phenomenal start, and we can't wait to see where they take us from here. Unless, of course, it's killing off B2, in which case there will be hell to pay.
I have adequate power reserves.
Now, we'll have plenty of other deep dives for you over on Nerdist.com, but for now, tell us, what did you think of the first 3 episodes of Andor? Did you spot anything that we missed?
If you can't find it here, it's not worth finding.
Let us know in the comments below, and for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, make sure you stay tuned to Nerdist.com.